Oh, hey, we are live again. Welcome back to another episode of the Bad Batch Breakdown. Appreciate you joining us. Spoiler alert, we finally get that decades-old question answered. What happened to Taun We? Bailey, Brandon, let's get into this. What is happening, my people? Welcome back to another Saturday, another Bad Batch Breakdown with my friends Brandon and Bailey. Good to see everybody. First of all, Bailey, how are you doing, ma'am?
I am doing well, thankfully. Thank you.
Okay, and we're just going to leave it at that. Things are going relatively smoothly. Don't jinx it, right?
Don't jinx it. Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, all right. Knock on some compressed sawdust. I feel you. Brandon, how about you, sir? How are you doing?
Doing well. Doing well.
We got a quick regional question. Bailey and I are interested because this is the time of the year where it's about 119 out right now. What's the temperature where you're at there in Minnesota?
73.
I hate you.
Diggity dog. I'm so jealous. I have the air conditioner on. I'm still sitting here sweating in my studio. Yep. So yeah. All right. Well, it's good to see you both. We got a couple of people in chat already. This was one we talked about earlier. Let's say hello to Cole. That came in at 5:53 this morning, so I don't know if he or she is still here, but appreciate you dropping by nonetheless. And then there we go. Chat legend Gilster's in the house. Good to see you, Gil. And always keeping it real for us, guys. You know how we do. PB and Ewok.
I want that on a shirt.
Yeah, one of these days I'm going to get unlazy and maybe start us a merch shop or something, but we'll see. And I'll put PB and Ewok on one of them for you guys too. I even put like a peanut butter jar or something on there to be hilarious. So, yeah. All right. Well, we are right back at it. Bounty Lost, episode 9 of the Bad Batch. And Bailey, I'm not going to lie. We predicted a couple of things last time because at times the show has been super predictable. And I just knew as soon as we started right where we left off last time, well, here we go. And pleasantly, I was kind of happy with what I saw and was surprised, I guess, maybe not a strong word, with some of the things that happened. But we're going to go ahead and start with you as always, Brandon, if you don't mind.
Oh, geez.
And then we'll have Bailey come in there and tell you why you're wrong. I'm just kidding. Give us some overall impressions and maybe get us started on the plot a little bit, brother.
No, it was really good. Once again, it immediately kind of went from where we were last. So the last 3 episodes now have been like a consistent one, boom, boom, boom. And I think that's been really enjoyable because we wait all week and we're excited about it, but then it's just carrying on from where we were. But I really like this episode because we got to see more Cad Bane, we got to see more Fennec Shan, and I mean, that was the majority of the episode. The Bad Batch really wasn't in it that much. Right.
Wow. Bailey with the backhand.
But I thought they moved the pace of the episode really well. Like it wasn't one of those where it was just action all the way through. And I was surprised that there weren't more Easter eggs kind of thrown in, but with what they were doing, it was, they didn't really have, I guess, time to do any callbacks. Right. So when I was watching it, I was like, this is probably the episode with the least amount of callbacks or like little Easter eggs, but it's because they had so many different, things going on.
Yeah, we're advancing the plot this time.
Yeah. I absolutely enjoyed it. So I'll let.
Cool. Bailey, how about you, ma'am? What were your overall impressions? What do you think?
Honestly, I think this is my favorite episode so far. Because it finally did the thing that I've been preaching about for weeks. It surprised me. And it was hitting all the things that I've been grading these episodes with. And it's just like, yes. Like, I definitely agree. These last few weeks, it's like, this is what I wanted. Like, we're going on the boom, boom, boom. Like, we're going in a more linear direction. The plot is progressing. Like, the story is just progressing. Like, it's not just a bunch of side missions anymore. It's like we're finally getting what I think should have happened much earlier. And it's funny that Brandon says, the Bad Batch themselves aren't really in this episode. And I think that's kind of why I really enjoyed it, because I've always said that the things happening around them are intriguing. And that's kind of what it was, is we got to see a lot of awesome stuff that had very little to do with the Bad Batch themselves. So yeah, I think this is my favorite episode so far.
Well, I will tell you, when Tech is the member of the Bad Batch we get the most in an episode, you know they've been sidelined on their own show for an episode. That's for sure. Really quick, before we get started in on the plot here, Bailey, we're going to go right back to you, so get ready for this. Christian from Smugglers Canyon. So nursing a hangover. That's exactly what I'm doing today, because I, for some reason, thought I was 22 years old again last night, but it's always good to see you, Christian. Hey,
John.
It's John, Super Awesome Geek Show. Here's my favorite part, because he's always like, I forgot to get the comments. Doggone it. John and Matt are both commented on this episode, but they were basically just saying that they agree with you guys and things like that. There wasn't any controversy there. But one of the things John said was, I can't stay up late enough to watch these because we're 9 o'clock Eastern, right? So he's like, hey, guess what, Paul? I stayed awake. And when you get our rates, that's an achievement, okay? It's a big thing. So there's Chris. Good to see you, Chris. We agree. It was a great episode. Linda, I appreciate you stopping by. I know that Papa Gord is also on right now, and he's got a great guest. So some of you might be popping back and forth or watching both of us. We really appreciate you taking the effort or making the effort to come over here and hang out with us for a minute. And then, of course, she always makes sure she checks in with Bailey and Brandon as well. And then JT.
Hey, JT.
Good to see you, man. Yep. And there you go. I like it. Gil. Meat potatoes. Let's get some stuff done, son. All righty. All right. And then, of course, we're going to hear it from Left Coast, because he's like, I was right again. And Left Coast, I bet you know what I'm talking about already. So whenever you want to throw it in the comments, we're going to get to that towards the end of the episode. So, but with that, Bailey, so we start off, and I love these episodes that we start off and things are already cooking and we're moving, cooking. See what I did there? So,
Dad.
Yep. Talk a little. That's my dad jokes right there. Talk a little bit about what we get right off the bat with this, and what you thought of their use of this character for me.
You know, I have to say, guys, I'm very surprised that for someone who just got his face burnt off, that he's able to pilot a ship. And really, I mean, he was like on their tail, the Bad Batch. So it's pretty incredible that he's able to function after being in that much pain, unless space medicine is incredibly different than ours. But yeah, as Paul has said, this episode, which I enjoy, I like it when episodes are just like they're off the ground running, because again, engagement. So we immediately start off the Bad Batch, left Braca, right? Braca. And they're in pursuit of Omega, who was just captured, and Crosshair is trying to gun them down still. He's like very adamant to like kill them or hinder them. And they quickly lose him. So that was pretty much all we saw of Crosshair. It was just like those first 2 minutes.
And he was doing well too, because Wrecker was in the back going, hurry up, I'm getting killed back here. You know, it was awesome. Brandon, we're going to go over to you, but I want you to answer this question really fast. JT asked, is Crosshair's Dengar? Because, I mean, look at it, right?
Right. And I see where people are getting that, but we've gotten Dengar in the animated Clone Wars. So we know that his backstory is not the same as Crosshair's. Obviously, Crosshair, they're two different characters. So I know some people have been seeing this imagery specifically where it's, where it's Dengar and then it's Crosshair's looking like that. But I'm nearly certain that we have gotten a younger version of Dengar, and we know that Dengar appears later in the Rise of Skywalker with a different name, and he's kind of went the General Grievous route where he's replaced different parts of his bodies with cybernetics. But I don't believe that they will be the same character.
Well, and this is for you, Bailey. Bacta is like a miracle healing ointment. Apparently, it's greater than
apparently. Wow, you need to get some of that here.
Yes, man, just cracked it, but basically did. Yeah, good point. So there's probably a little Bacta involved there, but I was shocked to see him too. Brandon, we'll go right back to you. Speaking of Crosshairs, what did you think of this? Were you shocked to see him, or what's going on here?
I was definitely shocked to see him being the one to chase down the Bad Batch. Like I figured he'd have the ship that he was on, or the couple ships that he was with, going after them, but to see him piloting it and to still be shooting at and almost shooting down the Bad Batch was pretty impressive. So I liked that they did that. And I think that just even goes to show more of his badassery, that like, yeah, he got Kentucky Fried Chicken and he still is trying to hunt them down. Sorry, Paul.
No, that's some badassness right there. I agree with you, Brent. So, yeah, good. I was excited to see him, to be honest with you as well, and I like it. It really fleshed out his character more about just how driven he is. So, Bailey, let's head over to you now. We get one of our questions. We get a couple of questions answered this time, and as I said, spoiler alert. Thank God we finally figured out what happened to Ton Wee. I've been wondering that for 18, 19 years now. But we get this question answered. So after everybody jets out of the system now, out of Braca, we got Cad Bane. Tell us what's going on here and what you thought of this.
Yeah, so we got Cad Bane here, and as we can see, we got the Prime Minister of Kamino right there, and he's checking in on his progress, saying like, "Hey, did you get the girl?" So they want Omega back, and for a reason we find out fairly quickly after that. But now we know that it's the Kaminoans that are hiring these bounty hunters to get Omega back.
Mm-hmm. Really quick, Linda, thanks for stopping by, though. I appreciate it. I know you're got to head over to Papa. So, and Chris makes a good point. Do you guys remember that commercial? You ever heard that before? Takes a lick and keeps on ticking.
I know.
It's from the 70s. Okay, yeah. Well, there are commercials from the 70s used to be takes a licking, keeps on ticking. That terminology doesn't even sit well in this time span. So yeah, we find out that the Kaminoans hired Cad Bane, and ostensibly they hired Fennec Shand. Brandon, did this shock you at all? What did you think of this?
I thought it was very interesting that they're kind of playing it at all the different angles, which I always like when they do things with the story where it's people have different motivations. So obviously, like they said, and darn it, John, because I can never remember their names because I always think of Lama Say and Tiramisu. So I cannot remember their actual names in the show.
This is Lama Su, this guy, right?
Lama Su is the
Lama Su. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Nala Se is the other female that showed up. I'm being dead serious. I think.
I know.
Okay, and then I know. How do I remember this? And I can't remember.
Right.
Meanwhile, I accidentally call Bailey my wife's name half the time. But anyway, and vice versa. Call my wife the dog's name. That doesn't go well, by the way. Don't do that. But anyway, so this is Lama Su. Nala Se is that other female, and then Ton Wee is the one that shows up later. Okay, so go, Brandon. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, I really like that because it's, there people stabbing each other in the backs and Jesus. Add that to the list. I'm not going
right.
That's good. I'm going to have to talk to someone and make that their canon names now.
Right. Space Drew, good to see you. Thanks for dropping in on us. We're here trying to name Kaminoans or Kaminoans or stuff right now. So I was happy. We got an answer right away.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that didn't surprise you, did it, Brandon? That it turns out it was them.
No, but I thought that one of them would have been hired by a different party. But I did like the way that they did it.
Yeah, Nala Se. See, I'm not crazy. John knows. And yeah, Ton Wee is actually, I think she spells it Taun, by the way. Oh, by the way, John, hi, good to see you. And then two different Camino folk hired two different bounty hunters. Exactly. Yeah, we're going to get to that because these Kaminoans are shady, man. So anyway, yeah, so we get, and they're like, hey, meet us at our rendezvous point, and we're off. Now, the hilarious part is, Bailey, we'll get back to you. As you mentioned, they have Omega. And when I say they, I mean him and that goofy robot that he carries around with him. No offense, Brandon. I know it's your boy. Tell us what's going on here and what you thought of this scene, because I did get a kick out of it. I was being a pain in the butt earlier.
So what I really liked about this episode is Omega like really takes care of herself and gets herself out of the situation. Because in the last episode, we kind of talked about this briefly, where I was afraid we were going to go down the Mandalorian route, where there's going to be this huge camaraderie, you know, all these people coming in to save this kid. And that's what I didn't want to happen, because I don't want to see the same thing I've already seen before, but that wasn't the case here. So we got Toto here, the droid, and I think he went down there just to fix himself. Like there was something up with his leg or something, like something was misaligned.
It got blown off.
It got blown up.
Yeah. Remember?
I totally pay attention. Anyway, so he's like unable, he's having a hard time repairing himself, and Omega's like, oh, hey, I can help you out. And of course, at first, you know, the droid has, you know, the common sense to be like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. But eventually, he's able to talk him into letting her out, and she actually knocks him out. Like at first, you know, she makes it seem like, yeah, I'm going to repair what's broken, but she actually like short circuits him, and he's out, and she's able to start looking for a comlink to get in contact with the Bad Batch.
Right. Brendan, did you see he was using his leg as a cane when he was walking?
I did, and I loved it. And
Yeah,
I can't believe you didn't remember that his leg got blown off, Bailey, because remember he gets shot and he's like, oh, my repulsor. Like during the most tense scene last episode. Yeah.
This is what my priorities are.
Yeah. I know. But I love that he was using it as the cane. And then I thought it was really, really good because, like we said, you know, Omega's, you know, like having some agency, like she's saving herself. And she's very good, and there's a reason why she works with the Kaminoans, because she's good with the technology stuff. Like they know she's very smart, and like she said, she's worked with the AZI, the medical droid with the Kaminoans. Right. And I thought it was, you know, I absolutely loved it, because Omega's like, you know, he doesn't really treat you well. And it's you think about it and you're like, oh wow, yeah. And before the stream, you know, the back room, we were talking, and it was like, this just droid is kind of stupid. Why is he with Cad Bane? You know, now that I'm thinking about it, it doesn't seem like Cad Bane would have the patience to put up with that. But
this is the greatest bounty hunter in the evers of ever, and he's carrying around this droid who's like, okay, you can come out. What is he doing with this guy? Sorry.
Comedic relief, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, he's voiced by Seth Green, so you basically know what to expect. But the delivery of that droid and the way that he talks, like, oh no, there she goes, like.
Oh, my favorite line in the whole episode. Clearly, Mr. Bane, she's right there. Oh no, this isn't good. But yeah, and I get it. They had to have a way for her to get out of the cell, so it was a plot device that just cracks me up. Like I said, that the most powerful bounty hunter in the whole galaxy is carrying around a robot who's basically incompetent. So, and you know what, Chris, I was going to bring that up. Toto seems like it's like they're in like some sort of he's like a bad marriage or something, you know what I mean? Because he even tells her, Mr. Bane treats me well most of the time, or something like that. And I'm like, man, how many, you know, interviews have I done where the wife, or is even the guy sometimes is saying that to him? I'm like, oh my God. So I felt kind of bad for him, but yeah. So she gets out, and she knocks the robot unconscious, and then she starts looking for her comm device. And we're headed to, well, we don't know where we're going, but we're headed to a rendezvous point, which turns out to be a decommissioned, you use that word again, a decommissioned Kaminoan facility. And I got a huge vibe off of this thing. Bailey, yeah, you're a huge OT fan as well, so I know you probably saw this, but Cloud City, did you see that?
Cloud City, yeah. Cloud City, that was the first thing I thought of. I don't know if we know for a fact that's where we were, but it sure looks like it.
Yeah, either that or something real simple. I don't know if it was the actual Cloud City. Brandon, do you have any info on that?
No, they said the name of it, and I already forgot what it was. I forgot to write it down, but it was a planet that I was not familiar with, that I didn't recognize.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it. I just thought, you know, for especially, you know, for the old guys or the people that are into the OT, this was a really cool thing. But it was floating. So
I do remember that they did say it was in the Lido system. That just randomly popped into my brain.
Okay, so not the Bespin system.
Right.
Okay. So she manages to find her comm device, and as Bailey mentioned, she knocks out Toto. And when they land, Cad Bane hasn't figured out what's going on yet. Really quick. Hey, Blitz.
Hi,
Good to see you. Yep. Oh, hey, that's my brother. Good to see you, Alan. Great. No, now I can't screw this up. Or he's going to make fun of me later, Bailey. But anyway, so she manages to get off the ship and she runs into this facility and she's got her device. So talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind, Bailey, as well. What's going on here in the fact that she took some agency on her own to get out?
Once again, I thought this was really refreshing to see. It just goes to show that she's really picking up what the Bad Batch has taught her. She's not so much this sheltered little kid anymore. She's someone who is very aware that the galaxy isn't the safest place to be, and sometimes you really need to pull yourself together to get yourself out of some bad situation. So after she knocks out Toto, she's able to get her comm device, and where she's able to get in. And if I remember, that's when Cad Bane is starting to figure out something's up because he's calling for Toto, and Toto's not responding, and so he goes down, and then that's when it kind of becomes like a chase scene where she needs to get in touch with the Bad Batch because she was trying, but they weren't like getting her signal, or they weren't able to hear her or something like that. So she needed to be online with them long enough for her to let them know what's going on. But I have to say, with this episode, I just really appreciated the pacing of the show. It was very it wasn't like jarring, but it was like, okay, she got herself out, she got the comm link, Cad Bane knows what's up, okay, and then the action starts picking up from there. So yeah, that's what's going on. She kind of is able to escape, which is pretty impressive because Cad Bane, even the Jedi have had a difficult time with him, and this little girl is able to free herself in a way.
Right. And as we talked about before, this is the first episode where at no point through the entire episode did I want to choke this little kid, because she's actually acting and doing on her own, which I'm very, very excited and happy about. So she tries to calm them, Brandon, and she's too far away. They figure out that it's her, but they can't quite figure out where she's at.
Right.
And she heads in here. Talk about, what happened here and where we're going in a minute back out into the hallway.
Yeah. So she was trying to find a way to boost the signal, and she couldn't before Cad Bane kind of caught up to her, and he actually ended up crushing the comm device. So all of a sudden you're like, oh geez, how is she gonna contact them? But she makes her way further into the cloning facility, and Fennec Shan kind of shows up very shortly. But I want to learn how to. I know people who can just look at the Arabesh and can tell you what it says, which is absolutely amazing, because I have the IG-11 shirt with Baby Yoda that has the Arabesh, and it took me like a half an hour to figure out 3 words. So, but you did mention it says escape pods, and then I don't remember exactly what happens, but basically when she presses a button, the comm tower pops up and it sends communication, and the Bad Batch are able to pick up on it, and they're able to kind of track her down. So
right, and we get a little Easter egg about what happened here too, because it says something like she's going up and down the facility and different parts are lighting up, and that's how you can tell it's like flight pods or something is one of them, and then one of them says emergency. So the Kamino one's clearly bumped and left in a hurry because everything is still working. We're going to talk about this in a minute, but their clone pods are still there and everything like that. Brandon, go right back to you. We keep seeing this where they go to these defunct, decommissioned ships and places, and everything works. Is that bothering you at all?
No.
Okay.
No, because I mean, you think about Star Wars, and pretty much any droid can plug into a scomp link and then everything works. So no, I at this point it's like, yeah, it's plot convenience, and I mean, anything like that is obviously going to have emergency means to keep things up and running, even if the people do just up and get out of there. So stuff like that doesn't usually tend to bother me, but I I must say I was worried when we got that new trailer that showed the cloning pods.
Mhm.
I was really worried that we were going to see like Snoke in a tube or, you know, something that looked like that.
Right.
But I'm glad. And I don't remember if you did pull up two of those if you pulled up an image of the pod.
I did. Yeah.
And Fennec Shand is kind of talking to Omega, and she's
hold
like,
on, Brandon. Let's back up
okay.
real quick, because she hasn't in the chronologically. Finnick hasn't showed up yet, because
right.
Just about the time Cad Bane walks in and is like, "Gotcha, bitch."
Yep.
This happened. We hear a shot and we hear a boom. Bailey, what do we got here?
Fennec Shand finally, after, gosh, how many episodes has it been? Like 4 or so. But I was like, yes, because like honestly, I was rooting for Cad Bane until she showed up, and I'm like, oh, well, this is gonna be fun. Like, this is where the fun begins, as Anakin would say. So yeah, we see her, and she immediately kills the Kaminoan Tanwi that was there to collect Omega for the Kaminoans, and shot her right away and was like, yep, I want the girl. She has the case that is Cad Bane's credits. Mm-hmm. So we kind of have a little standoff here where Cad Bane has Omega, she has the credits, and they're kind of just, you know, like a Western, like, no, you go first. No, you go first. And things just really pick up from there. So I was like, finally, because I think that was like a question I've been asking, a couple of weeks from now, is like, where is she? Like, you bring Fennec Shand, but where is she?
Mm-hmm. Agree. So, quick Easter egg: the actor who voiced Ton Wee in the movie is the same one that voiced her in this episode. So it's even the same voice, which was really cool. Yeah, she came back for like 1 or 2 lines, like you said, because Fennec just pimps up in there, pow, drops her, takes the credits. There's Brandon. Let's go back to you real quick here, then.
Yeah.
Before we get to her talking to Omega. There's a battle scene between Fennec Shand and Cad Bane in these hallways, and you know, which, as we'll talk about in a minute, Fennec actually wins for the time being. Tell me what you thought about how they did that, and what you thought of how it was done.
Oh, I love it, because Fennec is so good at using what she's got to her advantage. So like, she's got bolas to, you know, wrap them up. It was very much a game of cat and mouse between them. Mm-hmm. And I've watched it a couple times, and I'm still having a hard time remembering, you know, how it all played out, like the timing of it all, because I had completely forgotten that the reason why Omega was down there was because she was able to run away because Fennec basically distracted Cad Bane. But they end up losing the credits because Toto gets blasted out the window by a thermal detonator that
once again.
It got Cad Bane pretty good. And he kind of got knocked out, which was why Fennec was able to have a little bit of time to talk to Omega. But I thought that they did the whole tension of it all was so good, of her trying to communicate with the Bad Batch, and then Cad Bane stopping and then stomping on the thing, and then Fennec Shand showing up and, you know, and just killing Ton Wei. But I honestly, this was such a good episode. I don't have complaints about how it was laid out, because it moved to the next thing so well.
Right, I agree. Bailey, I'd love to get your perspective on this fight / battle between the 2 bounty hunters. What did you think of how they did that?
I think they did it really good. I really like fights where I don't know like who's obviously gonna win. And there were many times where I was like, I really don't know who's gonna have the upper hand here, because they really are like kind of like each other's match. You know, even though Cad Bane's like, you haven't been in this as long as I have, yada yada, she was able to keep up and, you know, outsmart him, and I thought it was entertaining. It definitely kept me entertained, because it's just, like I said, I want to be surprised, and it wasn't predictable at all, and it really had you sitting there being like, I don't know who's gonna win.
Yeah, I like how one of them fought straightforward. Cad Bane, he's a gunfighter. He relies on skill and speed, whereas Fennec Shand is much more like cat-like, and she's using smarts and different types of tactics, and it was a fun fight to watch. I'm not going to lie. The exact and tell me if you guys disagree with me on this. The exact opposite of what we got when he stood down Hunter, because that was and it was still good. I loved how they did that, but we got to see something different. Brandon, did you notice that they went a different direction with it this time?
Yeah, and I'll even call back to when she just kicked Wrecker's ass. Like that there are fights, and then there are not fights. And what happened with Wrecker was not a fight. But That's why I'm glad. Like, I know some people, seeing people online complaining that they were like, oh, like Fennec wouldn't be able to do that. Like the Jedi had a hard time with Cad Bane. It's like, well, maybe we're just seeing how badass Fennec Shand is. Like, there's a reason why she had such a high bounty when it came to the point in the timeline for the Mandalorian. So I really appreciate that we got to see Fennec Shand again. But
agree. And the way, like John's talking about down there, it's adding a lot of character depth. And when we get that third episode of the Mandalorian, or the third season of the Mandalorian, or the Book of Boba Fett, we'll have all this in the back of our head, and we'll know what she's capable of now, as opposed to her, just getting shot in the stomach and is part robot now, left coast. So Bailey, I wanted to start with you on this one. So Cad Bane's down, the credits are gone because that robot, whatever. And so Fennec Shand runs off to go catch Omega, and we get a moment, and I'm going to have you talk about both of these. We get a moment where Omega realizes that she's in a cloning facility. She already realizes it looks a lot like Topoka City, but she finds some cloning vats, and there's a moment where she walks up and puts her hand on it, and you can see her reflection. What's going through her head there?
She's probably honestly, she's probably really surprised, because her knowledge of the galaxy is so limited, and I think she was really surprised to be in another space that reminded her way too much of Camino. And now that she has these two bounty hunters that are very interested in her, I think that was kind of that fear setting in of, I might be going back to a place that's not safe for me. And so I really think it was kind of a big slap in the face for someone who thought they were out of it, but they're not.
Right, because at this point, she still has no idea.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why they're chasing her. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cover you. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. No, I would just imagine that would be terrifying for a 4-year-old kid to see that.
Yeah. Brandon, do you have some thoughts on what was going on? Because she stands there for a second, like she did on the bow of that ship, and just appreciates what's going on. What do you think's going on in her head, or do you agree with Bailey?
I honestly thought it was terror, and it's because now that she knows a little bit more about the cloning, this is the side of the cloning that she didn't see. I guarantee you they didn't have her around any experimental stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, she was probably just seeing the bright, shiny, like, we make the clones type stuff. And now she's seeing that, like, basically she knows she's different. And now she's seeing that they did have these other experiments. And she's probably thinking, this could have been me. Like, she sees the different versions of the experiments. And do you have a picture?
I do. So here's where we'll go with this, Brandon. These things, because she looks in them, but they don't look like humans. They actually look like this mess we got from the Mandalorian. And they look like, it also reminded me of when they were trying to clone Ripley from the Alien movies. I get a lot of Alien references in this movie. Mm-hmm. So these were the ones in the Mandalorian I'm showing you here. And then she's walking around and she looks into them, and they're a mess. And the ones that I have a picture of on the Camino, or the Camino-like place, that's also when she's having the conversation, but that's what they look like. Is that what you're talking about, Brandon?
Yeah, I did see one that looked like a Celestin, like the pancake face. Mm-hmm. So it's like they're doing cloning or testing on different species to see, because I mean, what we've seen of clones so far has just been humans, or like, human like race.
Yeah, or those messes that we were getting. John makes an interesting point here. We'll jump ahead and then we'll come back to what we're looking at here. One of the tanks gets busted open, and whatever falls out looks like a Kaminoan. Bailey, did you catch that? And what did you think of that?
I mean, yeah, I caught that, and it's interesting. And I I know that like in the Darth Plagueis novel, I think it goes into the history of the Kaminoans, like how they got to be where they are. And what's interesting is, I haven't read the book, but I've heard about it. And from what I've gathered, it seemed like the Kaminoans never left Kamino. I mean, granted, this is a Legends book, so things might have changed. So I think it's interesting to think that they were somewhere else doing something similar. Because from what we've been told, they've always just been on Kamino. So it's interesting, and I hope we get more information on it.
Agreed. Brandon, what did you think of what you saw in those tubes, especially the one that fell out?
Yeah, it looked basically like a Kaminoan / mix of pretty much the gray alien that everybody knows when their Area 51 is brought up.
Right.
Like, the big eyes and the gray skin and everything. But I know just from what I've seen, and I'm trying to remember where else I heard it, but that they do mention it in the Plagueis book where they talk about the Kaminoans, but they their planet, basically they had to keep adapting to survive. So I'm wondering if they were cloning themselves and then changing little things to see about adaptability. So I wonder, because this planet looks kind of like a gas planet, if they were trying to see if they could survive on different
environments,
biomes, whatever. Yeah. So that's just what kind of immediately popped into my head when I saw that they were basically cloning themselves.
You know what, I didn't think about it. That's a good point. Blitz makes an interesting point here. I really hope that the Bad Batch isn't trying to tie in, and I think he correct, sequel is what he meant, not prequel. Sequel stuff like Sheev clones, recent Star Wars stuff focused a bit too heavy on that. Do you think what the Kaminoans are doing here is already what we saw in The Rise of Skywalker, that's what's going on here, or is this them doing their own thing? Bailey?
I mean, I really hope that's not the case, because like I don't want new projects of Star Wars to be focused on trying to make the sequels make sense or fix things, like I don't want these projects to be like all about slapping a band-aid on a question we might have had in the recent movies. So I'm all for parallels and whatnot, but I don't really agree with everything having to tie into everything. Like I think things could kind of stand on their own, and there could be an entirely different threat. The sequels are several, like 40 plus years into the future at this point. So like, I just think it's just a little far-fetched for something that happened so long ago to like, I don't know. I hope that's not the case, because that is a comment I see a lot where, and I've always wondered that too. Like, are they just trying to make these new projects fix the sequels, or to try to over-explain something, which I don't think needs to happen, because we as the audience, we're not stupid. We don't need everything spelled out for us. Not everything has to be, just like not every character has to be related to somebody, like. So I hope not. I hope that's not the case.
Brandon, I would be surprised if you said otherwise, but do you think the Kaminoans are doing their own thing here, or is this supposed to tie into the Snoke deal?
We see Dr. Parshing in The Mandalorian, and he has a Kamino badge. So they could connect it, but hopefully it's just saying that this was like the foundation for like the cloning, and not they're already working on that kind of stuff. Like, hopefully they don't directly tie it in, but I think we're going to see where Palpatine, because Plagueis and Palpatine were very interested in preserving life and cloning and that kind of stuff in that novel Darth Plagueis. Like they were trying to figure out how long they could keep certain species alive and essence transfer stuff and all of that. And that goes back, all the way to EU, where Palpatine would essence transfer into clones of himself. And we saw a version kind of that in The Rise of Skywalker, but hopefully it's just those little loose things enough to make us go, oh yeah, okay. But
right.
I like, exactly like Bailey said, Star Wars does this a lot, where they feel like they need to go back and make things make more sense, but then it just gets messier. Like the War of the Bounty Hunters comic books that I'm reading right now. It takes place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and do we really need that? But no, but like they go back and they fit stuff in, because they're going to want to go to familiar places rather than branching out and, worrying that they're going to change it from what it should be.
True. I think, Bailey, you said it once, and this is what I've tried to keep in mind. Yeah, it's clones and it's tubes, and that Pershing may have worked with or around the Kaminoans at some point, but that doesn't mean that's what's going on. Because, as you put it, it's a big universe. Not everything has to be part of everything. We forget there's more than 6 planets, since we go to Tatooine every 5 minutes. But and so I think you guys are right. I think that's what's going on here. They're like, the Kaminoans were cloning, but this wasn't for Snoke yet. I'm hoping so. Let's see here. We'll go through the comments really quick, and then I want to talk about that conversation. Left Coast has a point. You have to tie in the sequels somehow, as well as meshing the OG trilogy. There's lots of meshing. But as you guys put it, as long as they don't beat us over the head with it, I think there's a nice balance there. And then, John agrees with you guys. No, Kamino are doing their own thing. Eventually, Kamino stops working for the Empire. I'd say that by the time we get to Strikes Back, cloning is a lost art and Kamino doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Brandon, you agree with that?
But like I said, that's where we're going to see where, Palpatine basically either destroys it and then takes it because he realizes how valuable it is. So, yes, I do agree with that.
Yeah. We just haven't seen what happened to Kamino yet in a show or film. So
right.
He's a little late, but Jay, good to see you. First of all, second of all, he's talking about Toto. He's like, he's an abused droid that's going to sell a whole bunch of up armored Bane 2.0 figures. Would you agree with that, Brandon?
Yep.
If of course you can get them and they're not Walmart exclusives, but we won't go down that road. So Bailey, we're going to go right back to you. Obsessing. It's an obsession.
I literally don't understand that. Like, this joke must have happened when I wasn't around.
Yeah.
I think that's happened a couple times, and I'm just like,
okay. I can explain it real quick so you don't have to look confused. So Black Series makes the figures, and there is still no Black Series Hammerhead from the Cantina in episode 4.
oh,
So you've got all these different characters, including like Jackson the Rabbit from the comic book that got a Black Series figure before the Hammerhead did. And because we see Hammerhead a lot in this series, Left Coast likes to
I gotta say they're very interesting, these toy makers, because there's a lot of prequel Jedi that don't even have Black Series figures. But some rabbit, rabbit in a comic that very few people have read probably gets.
Are you listening, Hasbro? Right? Yeah. I don't know who's making the decisions over there. Yeah, I tell you, the three of us should go work for Hasbro. We could make them money, So, but anyway.
Yeah.
John talks about Kamino's schemes might be discovered by Imperials and they might be viewed as an enemy. They're playing a dangerous deception with the Empire. And it turns out, as we, because we are a little confused right now because Fennec comes in and shoots one of the Kaminoans. And you're like, well, and then they're fighting each other. We've just figured they're fighting over the money. But we get a little bit more of an idea of just how treacherous and how backstabbing and scheming the Kaminoans actually are. But let's talk about this, Bailey. She gets there and she has a conversation with Omega, which I thought was pretty interesting. Talk about what they were talking about and what you thought of that.
Oh, I have to say I was like 1,000% on Fennec's side because it seems like, we don't know a lot about her, but she was basically telling Omega, listen, if you go with if you went with those, because Omega was like, well, you killed Tan Wee and like, that's ridiculous. And she's like, listen, if you went with her, they were going to kill you. They were just going to take your genetic info and just terminate you because you become a problem. Where if you come with me, I'm going to make sure you're safe. And, which was interesting because that was kind of our first clue as to like, who is Fennec really working for? Because if that's what the Kaminoans want, and she's saying, no, they're bad, but you come with me and you'll be safe, then that, which I think is great. And I think that's a very good story move when you have all these characters, as Brandon said, coming in with different motivations and you think they're working for the same team, but they're really not. So that was what was going on here. But Omega's like, adamant to still get back to the Bad Batch, doesn't trust her. But Fennec, to me, genuinely seemed like, listen, let's not make this harder than it needs to be. You're wanted. you're in danger, come with me and you'll have a better chance.
Well, let me ask you a question, Brandon. When you saw this conversation, because Finnick has already shown that she's a good liar and she's good at manipulation. Did you think Finnick was lying to her, or what did you think was going on here?
No, at this point, like it totally makes sense. Like at first it was just like I in the previous episode we saw with Fennec, it was obviously a ploy to try to get her to be friendly with her and stuff like that. But I think at this point she's being completely real with her, because I think Omega's starting to make the connections that Kamino is not safe for her. So at this point, I think she's being completely honest, and she even says, like the minister had worse plans for you than they do. So I think and it's hard with characters like Fennec, where it's they most of the time it's just about the money, but when there's scenes like this, it's like, okay, like where does the like moral ambiguity of being a bounty hunter kick in, where she's almost being protective of this child now too, even if it is just a job.
Right. So just about the time this conversation happens, Omega, you can see the light starting to come on in there, and she's like, wait a minute, this is, maybe this woman's telling the truth. Maybe there's more to this that's going on. We cut back to the Bad Batch, and they found out that, Cad Bane's a bad guy from Vic, but they can't figure out, or Sid. Yeah, Sid. They can't figure, she's no help where to find him. So they can't figure out why all these bounty hunters are chasing Omega down. And then Tech comes in and lets us know. And Brandon, I'm going to let you talk about this one first, and lets us know why we are so interested in Omega.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they did this, and that it's not because she is force sensitive or anything. I was thinking she was just another clone that had a slight variation of the DNA where she had different skills, but she is like Boba Fett was a direct clone of Jango Fett, an unaltered clone. So she doesn't have the sped up aging. She doesn't have the stuff to make her listen to orders more and everything. She is it's specifically Jango Fett's DNA. Mm-hmm. So she's essentially a female Boba, or you could say Boba's sister. So it's really interesting, and I wonder what the age difference is. Like when, were they made around the same time? Did they wait a little bit? I really do wonder, because that was a really good contingency plan on the Kaminoans' part to make a second clone, because I guarantee you Jango or Boba didn't know about this, and that they kept her as a backup plan if they did run out of that genetic material, which is why she is so important. And
Lefko seems to think they're the same age. That doesn't shock me based on what you guys have told me. Really quick, Unit Fam, good to see you. She looks nothing like them though. Bailey, start off with what you thought of why she's called Omega, and apparently Boba Fett is Alpha, and then touch on what you think is going on with Unit Fam's comment there.
I have to say, this was the part of the episode that really threw me off when they said that she was a pure replication, because I'm with you, Unit Fam. I'm like, she really, if you were to put a photo of her and Jango and Boba side by side, it's like she looks nothing like. I mean, like, Boba still looks darker to me. They got dark hair. I mean, I know, like, and I'm just thinking, like, with genetics, you still have, like, when you need that variation, you still have, like, another person's DNA, but she's a replica, but she looks very different. Even the accent is different, like, and I know, like, she's a female, but she still does not sound like Boba or Jango, so it was definitely a head scratcher for me, and I was, and this could be a convenient plot device, but I thought it was shocking how, like, Tech was able to get that information about her, like, why that would be, like, in a database somewhere, especially one that he can access. It made it seem like it was public information. So this is something that I don't, it definitely caught me off guard, because it's like, like I'm glad she's not like force sensitive. I'm glad like that's not the case at all. But at the same time, like really, she's a pure replication. I mean,
Right.
okay, and I just hope we get more of an explanation as to why did they make Boba and a female Boba? Why did they? I don't know. It just seems very. It's interesting. It's interesting to say the least.
Well, I will tell you the comments are off the chain with people discussing, everything from all of them start off as females, like regular biology, to how is this even possible, to, basically what it comes down to, I think, is just going to be suspension of disbelief. Yeah. She's Boba Fett's brother. That's what they said. That's where they're going with this. People are talking about DNA and everything, and we could do a 4-hour show on biology and DNA. But long story short, turns out she's Boba Fett's sister or Jango Fett's daughter. Let me ask you a question, Brandon. Did you enjoy that they did it this way, or How did you feel about that?
Yes, I did. I actually really liked it compared to the other stuff that we were seeing. Whether she was a clone of Palpatine, whether she was a clone or not even a clone, but if she was Phasma, if she was Rey's mom, if she was, all these things. I was like, holy Jesus, people, you need to just like, I'm glad it was this because so she is a couple years.
Yes, we'll have to sit down and do the math on that. So she might be a little younger than him because it took them a little bit longer to make her. And of course, Left Coast is being very demure about this because I think it was like episode 2 or 3 of our podcast. He's like, "It's Boba's sister. It's Boba's," and I was like, "Okay, Left Coast is going off again," and I get a kick at him. But sure enough, he ended up being right on again. So
yeah.
Oh man, what were you gonna say, Brandon?
I get distracted sometimes by my second screen with the chat. But
okay.
Whose question was it where it was if she's John. I've seen people online refer to Omega and Boba as siblings, but wouldn't she be more like a daughter? Wouldn't she be Jango's granddaughter? No, because she's a direct clone from Jango. So not Boba, but Jango. So it would be more like Boba's sister.
Bailey, question for you. Oh, I'm sorry. Go, Brandon.
No, I was just gonna say, or a female version of Boba.
Right. I'm just going to stick with suspension of disbelief on this one. And they were able to make a female Boba Fett and just let my mind go because we can overthink this. I got a question for you though, Bailey. Boba Fett is referred to as Alpha. Obviously we have Omega. Do you think they're 1 and 2 and they just start finish, or are there a bunch of others in between all those letters, or are those all what do you think's going on with why they named them that?
I wouldn't put it past the Kaminoans if there was like hundreds, if not thousands, of these, Bobas and Omegas. So that's another thing that I'm hoping we get clarification on was Boba truly number 1, and then how many before that did we get Omega? So yeah, I think this is definitely something that I really hope we get more, not beaten over the head with it, but maybe just a little more information of like, yeah, Omega before you, there was this many. So yeah, never knew he had a daughter.
Poor Jango Fett lost his head and never knew he had a daughter. That JT, way to hit at the heartstrings, brother. So, Brandon, we're going to go back to you in a second, but I wanted to point out that you remember we were talking about how she was tippity typing and realized there was those flight pods. And long story short, the bounty hunters are chasing her around and she manages to get to one of these life pods. Talk about how, for all intents and purposes, until right up at the end, she saved herself.
Yeah, it was awesome. The whole time. And she was handcuffed almost the whole time. Or at least the second half of like the chase. And I kind of always like scenes like that where there's some other stuff going on and the person, has to get out of trouble, where it's, whether it's two big things fighting each other and, they're just kind of like, I got to get out of here. But I thought it was really clever because Toto was still after Omega and like trying to like get at her and stuff like that. It really was truly entertaining. And there's one thing I want to talk about during the fight between Fennec and Cad Bane was she headbutts him when she's wearing her helmet, and his hat pops up, and you can see a big metal plate.
Yeah,
that like there was some major damage there, and I know Left Coast Graphics mentioned earlier that we'll see Cad Bane and Boba, or we'll see Boba when Boba kills Cad Bane, but because they've used the animation from that scene for the Hunter versus Cad Bane, I don't know if we'll see that. I'm thinking that altercation has kind of already happened. So that's how Cad Bane got the big thing. Because if you look you can pull that picture up of Boba, Jango, and Omega, if you could, please.
I sure can.
And
there you go.
So they did the incomplete episode type thing, and that's where he gets his dent. Is he gets shot in the head by Cad Bane, but he ends up killing Cad Bane during that fight. But that is no longer canon.
Okay.
Yeah, Jesus, I hate that word.
I love it when Brandon actually doesn't like something. It's kind of refreshing, and I don't know why.
Yeah. But I after seeing that, when I saw the big metal plate in his head, I was like, maybe Boba already has the dent in his head, and that's something we'll see in the Book of Boba Fett, or we'll see something eventually, or they might just allude to it that it's already happened. So I thought that was a really clever thing that you blink and you miss it, because he gets headbutt and he like fixes his hat and you can see the big metal plate. So I thought that was a pretty fun Easter egg during that whole thing. But it was nice to see Omega save herself.
Agree. Well, Bailey, let me ask you a question. Cad Bane, it was in the Clone Wars for 3-4 episodes. I think you guys told me you never get to see him with his duster hat off or what the top of his head looks like.
Not that I can remember. I don't think so, Brandon.
Oh.
From what I remember, I feel like it just looks like a scuba suit, basically. Like, you know how there was that black line and that was interrupted by the metal plate. I feel like before it looked like a hairline that was kind of like a scuba suit.
Fair enough. Yeah. So I would love to get some more information on these guys. Maybe, like I said a couple of episodes ago, they may be even dropping little small seeds for us to pick up in other series as they come along. So, because I'm starting to believe you, Brandon, I think we're going to get one season of the Bad Batch, and that might be about it. David makes a real good point before I go back to you here, Bailey. There was a long conversation in the chat that I just couldn't put up. Yeah. I was like, we were talking about. And David, first of all, it's good to see you. I didn't say hi to you, but there go back. This is the end of what he was talking about. Here they made the clones from a male, so I guess it's all just sci-fi, and I shouldn't worry. There you go. Suspension of disbelief. It's Star Wars. Brandon, I think you pointed out a couple of episodes. They're not necessarily good at keeping things. What's the word I'm looking for here? The same. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or accurate. Yeah. So, and then and this is what Star Wars fans do, though, right? This is what we do. We pull stuff apart, and we want to see what makes it tick. And we might be taking it a little too seriously, but that's the fun of it. Wouldn't you guys say?
Oh,
yeah. All righty. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Collecting Star Wars. First of all, it's good to see you, brother.
Yeah.
Yes, you see him hatless at times. He has a bald blue head. Oh.
Yeah, and Shriv from Battlefront 2 is also a Duros. So bulbous kind of blue head. I completely blanked on that. I was just thinking specifically of Cad Bane. But yeah, he is a Duros, and we see their species. But his head does look different than most of the other Duros. Like, they seem to have a more bulbous, rounded head, and his is, kind of like my pinky.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Definitely not like our heads, Brandon, because you and I got Duros heads. That's for sure, brother. Bailey, did you see John seems to think that Cad Bane had a mechanical arm in this. Brandon and I talked about it. I'm not sure if it was the episode where you weren't here, where he's clearly changed his suit. I didn't see that he had a mechanical arm. Did you guys catch that? Or no?
From what I've seen, I've tried, because I remember people mentioning that, and I haven't seen anything that makes me go either way, but it looks like he still has all of his fingers, his biological fingers, but it is hard to tell because they've got the metal plates along the arm, and the way that the shoulder sits with the bicep brace, it does make it look kind of like a mechanical arm. And if somebody can show me a picture where it's clear, I will gladly accept that I am wrong. But I as of right now, I thought it was still his biological.
It looked like he's got all 4 limbs to me, surprisingly, because this is Star Wars. Nobody's got a hand cut off or an arm cut off yet. So, and then JT, there you go. All you need to know about cloning is life finds a way, guys. Okay, it finds
whatever the story needs.
Yep, and it's, of course, you know why they did. It's a perfect way to keep us guessing where and why she came from until they decide to tell us. Because if it had looked like little Boba Fett, we'd know right off the bat, and what fun would that be, right? So she manages to make her way down to the flight pod, and she takes off. And as you mentioned it, Toto, who actually does something right this time, starts disabling the thing so she can't get away. And sure enough, beep, 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 beep. And this is where the predictability popped in, but I didn't even care. We get this next. Bailey, talk about the rescue and what you thought of this.
Oh, shocker. Wrecker's the first one to greet her.
Right.
I didn't see that one coming, but it was... Yeah, and I remember I was texting somebody as I'm watching, and I was just like, that was one of the things I wrote because I was commentating, was like, yep, of course, it's Wrecker. All right, that's the guy.
But did you like it, though, that it was Wrecker? Because they seem to have forged a bond.
I mean, it's whatever. I mean, it could have been any one of them, but it's just like, to me, it's just like, yeah, I mean, you got all these dudes, and this is the one that they want to focus on. So yeah, no, it was sweet. It was a sweet little reunion. It looks like as of now, she's just really going to Wrecker, and she hugs Hunter, I think, and then like everyone else, not so much. But yeah, it was sweet. But again, there's still like a disconnect between like, to me, they don't feel like a full family yet, I guess. It just seems like Omega and like her dad and uncle, and then there's like the other 2 guys. Like, that's what it feels like to me. There's that disconnect, but I mean, it was sweet. I mean, there's 25 minutes in an episode, so it is what it is. She got back to them.
Fair enough. Brandon, why don't you talk about that, what you thought of this rescue, and specifically the fact that she's really only meaningfully interacted with 2 members of the Bad Batch.
Yeah, and the way that they did it too, they make it pretty clear that, you know, they all kind of care about her, but obviously Wrecker's there to greet her. As we've seen it, they're you know, like joined at the hip as much as, you know, they could be with a show like this. And then the last couple of moments with Hunter, she really does only interact with Hunter and Wrecker when she's rescued. And man, that you know, the conversation with Hunter, I was listening to some people talk about it last night, and they were talking about, as a parent, with them having a conversation with Omega, they were like tearing up and stuff like that. And it was like, I'm not a parent. And I was like, but no, it was cool though, that she was basically able to get herself out of all of the trouble. And then it was really only at the end that the Bad Batch had to swing in. And I mean, when you've got 2 bounty hunters after you, you're going to need a little help when you're like, what, 12. So I thought they did it. I thought they did it really well. And it wasn't like, oh, well, Omega really needs rescuing, or like, we got to save her. Like, it was like she was on her way to safety, and then like thud, and then she was rescued. So, yeah.
Well, Bailey, talk about this, because John and I agree. I thought they would have to chase the bounty hunters for at least 2 to 3 episodes, and I just knew we were going to do, like you said, super team jumps in on Camino and gets her back. Talk a little bit about that. Like, did you expect it to happen so fast, though?
No, and it's like, I'm not upset with what they decided to do. I'm just grateful that they didn't go down that same path where they're just picking people up and they're all coming together to save her. But it is interesting. I just think if anything, it's kind of funny that like when 2 bounty hunters are competitive with each other, their bounty can actually get away from them. So I really don't have much of an opinion on that. It's to me, it worked out. I don't know. I feel like if they did that, the whole chase 2 to 3, I feel like we would have gotten into a slump again of like kind of like the side missions where it's like we're just inching slowly. So I am, now that I think on it, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of glad it was a one and done deal because it just keeps things moving. And it just, I think it's great for Omega's character development to show that she can be self-sufficient and she can like find her way back home essentially without a bunch of people coming for her.
Right. I agree with JT. I like how the Bad Batch finally gets involved in their own TV show just in the nick of time, and we get a lot of character development on Omega. Brandon, do you agree with Chris? He feels the past 3 episodes have felt more like an old school Clone Wars story arc.
Yeah, absolutely. Because early Clone Wars, they'd have like the couple episodes, and then there would just be random ones, and then there'd be a couple episodes. So when it comes to the Clone Wars and Rebels, and it's people who have either a hard time with animation or who just aren't as into it, I recommend certain arcs. So this very much felt like if you were a fan of the Clone Wars or you wanted to just learn about Cad Bane, you could watch these 3 episodes, these 4 episodes, and then like these 3 episodes. So yes, it is. It's very much so far this season. It was like the first 2 episodes, and then it was skippable, and then these 3 episodes. Yeah, but
right. Bailey, I saw you nodding your head. Do you agree with Chris on this too?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of like for me, it's like thank the universe that is the case, because it's like, you know, as someone who's just really into the Clone Wars, when you watch something that's supposed to succeed that's kind of what you're hoping for. Is you hope to get that same feeling of nostalgia, kind of like you know, just being a fan of the prequels or the OG trilogy. It's like you do want to relive that a little bit when you get something new, not beaten over the head with it, but just like you want that same feeling. And I definitely got that with the premiere episode, with the you know, the opening announcement and whatnot. That was great. And then it's like now, as Brandon said, or as Chris has said, it really feels like I'm watching an arc, and that's what I like. Because honestly, guys, when I rewatch the Clone Wars, I do what Brandon does. Like, I don't rewatch every single episode. I just, I literally would have like a cheat sheet for myself. Like, I like this arc, I like this arc, I like this arc. Oh. And that's what's kind of nice about these series is like, if someone is like new to it, they don't need to watch all the 100+ episodes. They can just watch. And I kind of wish all episodes were like that. But at the end of the day, I have to remind myself, well, I'm pretty sure this is targeted towards kids. So,
yeah, I think Matt puts it best. He said his 7 and his 10-year-old kids love it. That's because they're not picking it apart like we are. They're just enjoying it. So, which is our job. And I will say, and I'm going to, David, when this thing first started, I was, like I said, I've said it 100 times. I was ready to choke that little kid, and I'd had enough of Wrecker. And turns out these are my 2 favorite characters now. So I agree with you, brother. Let's see. Oh, David just took off. Okay. Well, appreciate having you, brother. There you go. Dudes Nerdery, first of all, good to see you.
Hey, dude.
The entire Mandalore, and we've talked about this. About, you know, season 7 was a perfect example of exactly what you guys are talking about. First 4 episodes with the Bad Batch, very watchable, very cool, great arc, a lot of heart-rending stuff with Echo, and then we get the 4 sisters, who I'm guessing that's not on Bailey's cheat sheet to watch.
No, like, that arc tends to get. I feel like I'm like cursed. Like it's just like that seems to be coming up in all these conversations. Yeah, in that middle arc, and I'm just like, yeah, no, not my favorite.
Yeah, fair enough. And you know, then the last 4 were just, you know, the Mandalorian, as Dudes Nerdery put it, just awesome. Yeah. Quick Rescue also ups the stakes as the different factions double their efforts in remaining episodes to capture him. So this can make things more intense. Brandon, do you agree with that?
Yeah. Yep. What we have, how many episodes left? 7 episodes left.
Oh, really?
Right? Because it's 16 episodes. This was episode 9.
Okay. You, I don't know. Don't ask me. That's y'all's job.
And
you get to the smart ones.
And careful, because there are spoilers, because 4 of the remaining episode names got leaked. So if you don't want to know, make sure you don't look those up. But yeah, I want to say there's 7 episodes left because 16 episodes is what that's what IMDb has it listed at. Okay. So 9 down, 7 to go.
There you go. So there's a new term for it, the Filoni effect. You start out hating characters and halfway through you end up loving them and don't want anything to happen to them. Yeah, I don't feel that way about some of the sequel characters, but we'll move on.
I did find a picture of the figure version / Clone Wars Cad Bane versus what we see Cad Bane as now. Okay. If you do want me to throw those up, I can.
Yeah, let's take a look real fast. Yeah, let's take a look. Yeah, it's too nerdery for sure. Yeah, it's 100% real. So I'm going to add that to the stream. There we go.
So there's the most recent we've seen them. You can see the pauldrons there. You can see the gauntlets and everything. But
okay. That's a good crisp image too.
Yeah. Okay. He still had the gauntlets here.
Okay.
But the I mean, you can see how much is. Yeah, you can see how much the outfit really has changed. I didn't realize it had changed that much. It kind of looks like that right here. You can see the silver things that he's got on now. So maybe he just lost the leather jacket and trimmed down the size of his hat. Like, so who knew?
Yeah.
I still don't know if he's got mechanical arms, just because here it's hard to tell anyway. But then when you
don't his fingers look blue? Oh, now here he could, yeah. But on the figure, his fingers look blue.
Yeah, but he could just be wearing different gloves.
Right.
It is a completely different chest thing. So yeah, I actually like this look quite a bit for Cad Bane. As much as I like the Western style, leather jacket and stuff like that, and the big hat. But there's
because he's dropped to the duster and he dropped to the hat. There's no more trench coat or hat. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay. Chris makes an interesting comment here, Bailey. I'd like you to touch on that one. So the Filoni effect we were talking about, it happened with Ahsoka, and now it seems to be happening with Wrecker Omega. I know you're a huge Ahsoka fan.
Yeah, so this is interesting because I think it really depends on point of view. So like with me, I mean, when Clone Wars came out, I was like the prime age target audience. It was 2008, so I was like about 13 years old. Ahsoka was, roughly 14. So to me, as a female Star Wars fan, it was so awesome to see like, oh, another girl Jedi. That's like that was one thing I really love about the Clone Wars is you finally get to see these other women have a bigger role in the story. So. And to me, when I look back at that, I'm like, Ahsoka acts like a 14-year-old girl.
Right.
So I think a lot of I think the issue, and this is something I preach about quite a bit, is there is this issue with the Phantom Menace that when it comes to female characters, they have to prove themselves. Kind of like with Finnick, it's like, she can't do that. She can't just kick his ass. So it's just it's always a fight. Like a girl cannot be inherently good, or she can't have a different personality. Ahsoka is not she's not a Disney princess. She doesn't. I think people just had a box of this is how women are supposed to act, and when they're not, they come off as annoying or cold or something. So I think it's interesting because I was shocked. It was only until I was older that I saw that people did not receive Ahsoka well, when for me, I was no, I thought it was great. I thought it was a great addition because, as a female fan, it's kind of cool to have a character you can relate to. As much as I love all the other Jedi, and it's really cool. So I think that it is interesting. It really depends on point of view, I think.
Yeah. You know what? I genuinely mean this, Bailey. I appreciate your perspective on that because it helps open my eyes a little wider too. So, because I am pretty much the absolute norm when it comes to everything, as far as Star Wars fans are concerned, straight white male, just throw it out there. So it's nice to get that, you stop and think about it for a second. You're like, those are really good points. Yeah. All right. I've never had a problem with Ahsoka because you said something that, I had a 14-year-old daughter. That's what 14-year-olds do, whether they're Jedi or not. So the character seemed real enough to me.
Yeah, and it's I think people would just have a hard time wrapping their heads around it. Okay, she's a 14-year-old girl in war, and there's a lot going on, and so it's to me, it's it makes sense that a kid would act like that, but apparently, in a fictional world, the standards are different. So
fair enough.
And that's the same argument that I see a lot with like characters like, you know, Luminara, Barris, Shakti. Like there's like this box, and it's like if they're not in that box, they get a ton of backlash, and that's why you don't see stories for them.
Oh yeah,
because the fandom menace plays a huge part of what gets made and what doesn't get made.
That's a good point. And obviously we can't go down this road because we don't have time, and it's really off topic. But I wanted to point out something that you said, and that is that Filoni and those guys clearly have mom issues or women issues or something you said at some point, because all the women have to be bad guys or something you were mentioning. I thought I got to kick into that.
Mom dies because like right? When Mother's Day comes around, there's not a whole lot of you don't see Star Wars Mother's Day merch because there's not like any to go off of, and if there is, they die. So
right. So getting back on track here, like I said, Bailey, I appreciate your perspective on that, and I'm being dead serious. You know, because this is one of those things. Well, Bailey and I proved it. We did a video where we talked about this. Bailey, remember, and the camera ran out of battery because we went so long. Remember? So,
yeah.
But getting back to the Bad Batch, so Omega takes off. She gets picked up by the Bad Batch. Cad Bane doesn't chase him down, Brandon. And can you talk about why that is?
No, I can't remember.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I'm trying to think. I was like,
wow, wait, I thought your screen had frozen for a second.
No, not the screen, my brain.
Okay. Well, let's go back to Bailey. Bailey, do you know why he didn't chase him? You guys are killing me. Because Fennec Shand, she had messed with his ship.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go back to Brett. Remember?
Okay.
Yeah. Sabotage.
Totally sabotaged the ship. He was getting ready to fly, and then thank you for the, you know, you poked the hamster.
Right. Yeah. I was like,
yep.
We didn't get a Brandon a Coke or a strong coffee before the stream next time. So
oh my goodness. No, it was blank there for a minute.
Right. The reason why I bring this photo up is I wanted you to to talk about that, but I wanted you to explain to me, because you love this character. Will you please give me a logical reason why the most powerful bounty hunter in the universe theoretically is running around with this goofy robot? Why doesn't he have like an IG unit or a 000 or something like that? What's going on?
Okay,
here?
Well, like I think about it in different friend groups. You've always got that friend that's a little bit like Toto, and you love Toto, and sometimes Toto annoys you, but you can't get rid of Toto, right?
Okay. Right.
And I don't know.
Okay, well let me go this route. This is a robot that theoretically is supposed to fix things and do the work in the background. And rather than fix the ship, he stands there while Cad Bane goes, oh yeah, we've been sabotaged. Well, first of all, why you didn't lead with that? And second of all, why didn't you fix it while I was gone? So he's just a comic relief is what you're basically saying.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. There, Lefko's got another. Kids dig him. Okay. Yeah.
He's a companion. I love Toto.
Yeah, you're a big kid, and that's why I love you, brother. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bailey, do you have some thoughts on why he's traveling around with this most incompetent floating robot here?
I really think this is just going to be another, like, we got to suspend our belief and just be like, you know what? This character was probably made to get laughs from the kids, and that's that. Like,
right. Yep. Yeah. There you
go.
Exactly.
Think about the droids, like in all of the movies, we're just led to believe that they're mindless, just machines that don't have thoughts. But when we see that episode and the one droid reactivates, it's like, we talked about this on the Pegwormers a little bit. It was the first thought that droid had was, did we win the war?
Did we win the war? Right? Yeah.
And the droids are so funny in the Clone Wars and, in Battlefront 2 and all that stuff. They have communication back and forth that isn't like just tactile specific information. It's like, it's when a droid sees another droid die, it's like, I guess I'm in charge now. Like,
that was hilarious. Yeah. Did we win? Oh my God. Now, so comic relief, and to get the kid demographic locked in for sure. Let's see what Chris has to say. The worst part about the droids was in the Phantom Menace when they were trying to fix the ship. They eat shot and they scream. That's right. He's talking about the astromech droids on Padme's ship. Where we first get introduced to R2D2 chronologically, and they scream. That's a good point. I'd forgotten. They sound like lobsters.
Yep.
Do you guys know what I'm talking about when you put a live lobster in water? Yeah. Okay.
Right. Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's terrible.
There you go. Yeah. Toto kind of balances Bane's menacing with entertainment. He's the Laurel and Hardy of the group. Got it. Okay. All righty. So, and then we're going to talk about one final thing, and then we're going to get into rating and talk about the goods and the bads. But I don't have a picture for this, but at the end of the episode, the Bad Batch are flying away. Everybody's asleep, but Omega can't sleep. And she goes up to the front of the ship and she has an interaction with, because they tell her, by the way, this is why you're so important. They want to kill you, all this stuff. And she has an interaction with Hunter, it was kind of touching. And he says something very specific to her. Bailey, can you talk about that and what you thought of that scene and whether or not he's going to be able to keep that promise?
Yeah, so basically it's as Paul said, Omega, catches Hunter and, she's clearly very shaken up by it, which is something I have been waiting for this whole time. Because like I said, a lot of stuff is going around these people and they don't seem to react. Well, I mean, I get it, it's a fictional show, but they don't seem to react as you would think they would to really horrific stuff. And she had quite a day. So she goes up to Hunter and she's expressing her fears of, okay, I get it. I'm in terrible danger. People are coming after me. I don't want to go back to Kamino. She was very much I just don't want to go back there. And Hunter reassures her that, as long as they're around, nothing's going to happen. I promise you're not going to go back to Kamino. So that was something, it was definitely a conversation that I wish we had in the previous episode, when she was asking about the war, and that would have been a great opportunity to have a moment like that, but that wasn't the case, and we got something like this, and it's just well, good, because that's another thing that I wish we saw more of in Star Wars, because when you think about it, Star Wars is just it's a lot of tragic things happen, and so I think it's just, from my, from writer's point of view, it's just it's good to see characters react to things in the aftermath of something, and that's what that was. And they managed to that conversation was maybe 2-3 minutes tops, but it was enough to be powerful. And it's so again, this episode was basically I knew these people can do this. It was such a good payoff of I want them to do this, I want them to do this, and now they're finally doing the things that I've been hoping for. So no, I thought it was a great way to end the episode. It's very realistic of you go through something terrible, and for a kid, they're going to gravitate towards a parental figure. And I thought it was great.
Brandon, what are your thoughts on that last scene there?
Oh no, when it comes to the emotional scenes and stuff like that, it's been one of the strongest ones so far of the series. And that's, the past couple times that's, besides the Easter eggs and the callbacks, when they have moments like that, that's what I wait for in this show. So it really is important to me that they have moments like this, which is why the Tech Omega scene last time was such a wasted opportunity. And they, they haven't done all that much with these characters. We talk about Hunter and Wrecker are basically the ones that have had these interactions with Omega, which is why those three characters are basically my favorite parts of the show. Right. And I'm still waiting for them to have moments with for her to have moments with the rest of the crew. But I mean, it's crazy to say that little conversation between Hunter and Omega was one of the highlights of the episode, when you have everything else that already just happened. You have Fennec Shand, who we were waiting for. We were come on, let's see Fennec. And then all of a sudden we're oh my God, it's Cad Bane. And they're, against each other. So it when the moments are strong enough to stand out in an episode like this, I think it goes to show how important they really are when it comes to the storytelling and the basically connection that we have with these characters.
Yes or no? Is he going to be able to keep his promise to her? I'm not taking. You're never going back to Camino. What do you think, Brandon?
No. Yeah,
absolutely not. Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, nope. That was basically like Wrecker teaching Omega how to do stuff with bombs, and I was like, oh, something's going to happen with those bombs, and then I think they're definitely going to have to do something with Camino.
Bailey, is he going to be able to keep his promise? Yes or no? Go back to Camino.
I mean, I hope so. I mean, because it's as we've said, we're in a galaxy far, far away. So I would hope they could stay far, far away from Camino. There are other places to go, believe it or not. So I hope so. Which is why I understand why people got to die all the time, because they can go find in infinite locations.
I think, you know what, I'm going to go with Brandon on this. I think he's going to end up having to disappoint her. She's going to get picked up again, or for some reason, they're going to have to go to Camino, and they're going to have to explain why sometimes your parents will let you down. And I think that's going to be the lesson in that episode. So. and we'll move on from there, right, Bailey? Yeah. Okay. So for those of you who have been with us since the beginning, or if you just popped in, you've been watching the Bad Batch Breakdown with Brandon and Bailey, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, every Saturday after these episodes. Those of you that have joined us in the chat tonight, it's been awesome. We've seen a lot of familiar faces, a lot of people that keep coming back to join us. And you guys it's great, because it really helps me steer the conversation when you get involved with us. And if you're watching us on the rewind, I greatly appreciate that as well. We get some great comments. I'm going to apologize to Super Awesome Geek Show, John, and Matt's collection. I forgot to pull up the comments to show on the episode, but you guys were basically saying that, you're enjoying it and you're agreeing with a lot of what we're saying here. So thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. We're going to continue on here. You know what we do now, guys? Brandon, 1 to 10. What do you got for me on this episode alone?
For the second week in a row, I'm going a 9.
Ain't nothing wrong with that at all, brother. Bailey, where are you at? 1 to 10, ma'am?
I would absolutely agree with Brandon. I'm going to go with a 9, which is huge, guys, because I've never gotten higher than a 7. So
and hit us with a 3 at one point. Wow.
Yes. So when I say a 9, I mean it.
Yeah, you mezzine that 9. Good. All right. Whereas, you know what? Right. So if those of you that are in the chat with us right now that have seen the episode, I'm hoping you've seen it. Otherwise, you're not going to need to watch it. Now, why don't you hit us with what you think your numbers are? Are you around where both of these guys are at a 9 this time? It's shocking.
I know.
I'm gonna have to clip this one little cutout and put it up as a video on Paul's Collectibles. Bailey gave it a 9. So. Alan, thanks, man. I appreciate that. If you got to take off, otherwise we're going to be here for a few more minutes. David, you know what? The chat makes the show. The chat really makes the show, you guys. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, oh, those are good points. But let's start with the numbers here. Oh, look at Chris. Look at that. Chris agrees with you guys. Collecting hit it up with an 8. That's still a real good score.
It rhymes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, 8 is great. JT 9 also. Wow, this one is off the chain. This was a good episode. I agree. I enjoyed it immensely. Blitz.
I love how everyone's so surprised with my rating.
Yeah. Oh my God, a 9 from Bailey. You don't even need to hear my number. We got a 9 from Bailey. Oh, wow. Okay. So David, if you feel like it, and I'm certainly not trying to put you on blast, but if you'd like to give us a couple of sentences on why you think it's a little bit lower. 7's still a great score. I'd love to hear that.
Oh, yeah.
John over at Super Awesome Geek Show, 8.5. Not bad at all. Thanks, John. John Hodges, 9. Good action with bounty hunters and the rescue. And I wasn't able to predict everything as we went through the episode, which was great for me. Check it out, Collecting Star Wars. Whoa, Bailey with the 9 rock on. Left Coast at an 8.5. Yeah, so this has been one of the best episodes rating wise we have seen, and we're still. Oh man, David has just had enough of this one. I'd love to hear.
I would love to know.
Yeah, 6.75. There's Jay, 8.5. Yep. All right, love it. Blitz 8 for me. All right. Appreciate that. There's Dude's Nerdery with a 7.5. That's not a bad score. Nothing except we got one outlier, and even those aren't terrible. For the most part, we're 8s or 9s, which is just great. Good to hear. I'm glad things are starting to pick up for us because, like we talked about earlier, it was good. I thought it was going to be a slog, and then they started coming out and helping us out. Alan, have you even seen the episode, or are you just?
9.
Yeah. don't know what you guys are talking about, but I've got a beverage and I'm watching my brother run his show. So how about a 9 for me too? Everybody seems to cheer. We do 9. So cheer for Alan. 9. All right. Thanks you guys for participating. Let's go over here real quick. Brandon, let's go back to you, sir. One thing that come on, man, it was a 9, but one thing, what's the best thing they did in this episode?
They made me think about the different motivations of the Kaminoans. Like they made it so it wasn't predictable, because you're basically thinking, oh, it's one of them's after for the money, and then one of them's trying to keep her safe from the others. And I didn't expect that at all. Like, I honestly didn't.
Right. So I forgot about one thing, and Brandon, I didn't mean to interrupt you. We needed to talk about this, because this is when we finally get the confirmation. Because at the end of the episode, we cut over to Fennec Shand, Bailey, and she's talking to a different member of the Kaminoans. Tell us what happened here, and did that catch you off guard?
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. So she's speaking with Nala Se, and in the beginning of the episode, it was Nala Se that wanted to go pick up Omega instead of Todd Way. Yeah. But the prime minister was like, nope, you're like, kind of like gave her the, your attachment to her is causing me too many issues, that type of thing. So you can't go. But turns out, okay, because Kaminoans are apparently shady, goes behind the back anyway, and, has Fennec Shand kind of looking after her. So, it's interesting. So, I hope this is something they build upon in the future, as to like all these different agendas going on within the same place. So yeah, it's that was interesting. Brandon, I was like with Brandon, I thought it was a different entity.
Yeah, I was actually for a second thinking we were going to get a different hollow of someone else. Brandon, did this catch you off guard that we now have confirmation that the Kaminoans are just backstabbing each other?
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, we kind of knew that. Like, she was like, "Oh, well, we we need to get Omega back," and then he's like, "Yeah," and then we need to kill her. It was like, "Whoa, okay." But no, I really liked how they did it, and it definitely caught me off guard that it was basically like, get her so we can keep her away from him. So, yes, Sean, I'm so glad. Yes. So glad. Yes. And I hope they keep it. I hope they keep it that way.
Yes, thank you.
But yeah.
Yeah. So we got that confirmation. We got a lot of answers in this episode, and a lot of information was given to us. And that was the thing that I liked about this, if I had to give my best. And real quick, Bailey, before we move over to you, Fennec is on her own ship. She doesn't have to...
I don't know if coronavirus exists in space, especially if they have something as powerful as Bacta on their side. So who knows? I think she just looks cool.
Absolutely.
That's why she has it on.
What's the word Brandon used? She looks badassery.
So. Oh yeah, she definitely has my attention on screen.
Absolutely. Bailey, they did a lot of good here. What was the one? What's the best thing? The best thing.
Oh, I think the pacing was great. It just like everything just moved along, and I really liked how we were given answers, and I think that was something we've been begging for a while. Is like, we're just moving inch by inch, but this is like, these last few episodes have been such a breath of fresh air of like, okay, we are moving, moving, and Brandon is dying over there. I want to know why.
Because Chris, if she was a real badass, she'd have a poncho and a
I agree. The
right. We would have mistaken her for an entirely different person. So
anyway, the pacing's great.
Perfect. And Brandon, I think I cut you off. Did you get a chance to talk? You got out what you wanted to get out on what they did best in this episode? Okay.
Yep, you're good. Yeah.
Okay.
What was your score, Paul?
Oh yeah.
Oh, my score was a 9 too. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I went into because we got bounty hunters fighting. We got Omega doing stuff on her own for this time. The Bad Batch is part of the episode, but not. We got a lot of answers. We figured out what's going on with this person. Why are there different bounty hunters? So much satisfaction. There's a good word. Satisfaction out of this episode. Whereas, like you said a couple of episodes ago, Brandon, you're like, you know what, this was good, but now I'm looking forward to, let's see what happens next week. And, and you were just like, all right, well, let's, whereas I feel like I got a good meal, and I can go to sleep tonight and be happy with what I saw. So, Brandon, let's stick with you then. Did they do anything bad in this episode? And if so, what was it?
I don't really have complaints. Like, I really don't. And that's the second week in a row that I can really say that. It just, everything, like the humor that was in it, once again, you know, the couple first episodes, you know, they try to be funny about something. It was like, Wrecker, shut up. But, but no, they are doing such a good job with this. And especially the last, you know, at this point, I'm saying the last 3 or 4 episodes that they've done such a good job, in my opinion. And the humor's been sticking great. The pacing of it all has been awesome. We're seeing some of these characters, you know, do different things. We've seen Crosshair now. We've gotten, you know, more about why Omega is so important. Now we know kind of a little bit more what the Kaminoans are doing. So now at this point, it's really, they just have to fold in the Empire. That's the only thing that I'm going to be, but I mean, there's a place and a time for it. Last episode, we got to see Crosshair and the Empire come after them. But I'm hoping we see Rampart again to justify a Black Series figure. But yeah, that's the only thing is hopefully the next, now that we've got this stuff, which now I hope they focus on that.
Agree. Bailey, I think I know what you might say on this one, because you and I tend to agree a lot on this one topic, but what could they have improved? What would have made this a 10 for you?
Honestly, I mean, I think the only thing that kind of had me go, was like the whole pure replication thing with Omega. But that's like just, you know, a nitpicky thing. There's like nothing, like, I don't have, like, I think this is the first time where I've been like, yeah, I really don't have any complaints with this one. I just really hope they stay on this path, don't lose us. So, like, you know, like, let's, you know, like, you have us on the up and up. Please do not take a nosedive. Let's just keep going. So, but I don't really have anything to say, you know, there's nothing bad. I think bad is kind of a strong word.
So I'm going to have to fix that banner, because I've said it a bunch of times. You know, we haven't gotten anything bad at all in these last few episodes, and even before. So I should probably, you know, what could they have improved, or I'll fix that. So, you know, for me, there was no time and place, because they really weren't included in their own TV show this time. But we got to get some echo. You know, we got to get some echo, guys. You know.
That's
what I'm hoping for. Yeah, we got to get some echo. I just wanted to say really quick, Shabby. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. And if you want to catch us on the replay, we would love to have you. So great episode. You know, we talked about, wow, I'm so much happier. I've always been happy. I'm so much happier to be watching these now and you know, and get some good satisfaction out of them. But, you know, once again, you know, you guys, this is the Bad Batch Breakdown with Bailey and Brandon, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, here on Paul's Collectibles. We've been getting lucky the past few weeks. Just some great stuff to talk about. Great, fun episodes. These two have just been knocking it out of the park with some great observations. Everybody in the chat's been super helpful. Lots of comments on the video. So please, we love having you. Please continue to stop by. Please continue to join us. Like I said, the three of us would do this if we were by ourselves, but this whole experience makes it so much better. But we're going to start winding it down, guys. With that, Bailey, did I forget anything? Was there anything you needed to say before we started getting out of here?
No, I think we've hit everything.
Okay. Brandon, how about you, sir?
This is like probably been like the easiest episode where we're all like, yeah, we're all okay.
I wholeheartedly agree. Brandon, how about you, sir? Last thoughts, last words, anything I missed?
No, it's all good. I think, like Bailey said, we all kind of easy episode to discuss. Didn't have to, you know, go and really look for stuff to talk about, because it was so easy to talk about it, because they paced it so well. And, you know, again, there weren't that many Easter eggs. So it's not like we had to go and look at some of that kind of stuff, but it was very good. And I'm glad we got to talk about it. I'm glad it seemed like the majority of people in chat really, really enjoyed it. So that's good to see. And I hope it stays on that upward trend.
Oh yeah,
Agree.
I dropped my first 9.
Yeah, you did. Bailey with a 9, historic. And there's David's got a point. I must have develop Tech and Echo, and that's what we're hoping for too in the future. Am I right, guys?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. John, thank you so much. You know what? You guys make it. I'm just here pushing buttons. It's Bailey and Brandon and you guys in chat. Thanks, helpful content. Thanks, Darth. I appreciate that. That's the other thing too, because I come in here and these guys will tell you I have a bunch of questions too. I had a stupid question earlier that Brandon prevented me from asking on air. Thank God, because I was like, "Is that Dengar?" No, it's not Dengar, Paul. Okay. Gilster, thank you very much, sir. Greatly appreciate that. Oh, J Squared dropped by just in the nick of time, babe. Yeah, good to see you. And John, thank you very much, sir. So I will tell you, I always like to pick one to go out on, and I think that's an excellent. This is a great show, and I am flattered to find out that in some fashion, we as a group, but specifically you two guys, were able to help. And you know, great chat. You guys make great points as always, and I appreciate it. And we don't always agree with everything that's going on in the chat as well. So I appreciate everybody keeping it civil and being nice about it. Thank you, Brandon and Paul. Love the show. Thank you all in chat. Absolutely, that's an excellent way to end this. So you guys, with that, you know how I goofy do. We'll see you on the next episode.